Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 11th problem solving session for the course Municipal Solid Waste Management. The course instructor is Professor Ajay from Department of Civil Engineering, IIT Guwahati, and I am one of the DA for this course. My name is Asma Parveen, and I am a PhD scholar in IIT Kanpur. So till now, week 11. Till now we have covered contents for this course till week 11. So there is one more lecture for week 12 is left. That is one more week, and then we will have one extra 2 hour session on the next to next week. So we have started the from solid waste. What is solid waste? What is municipal solid waste? Then we have seen classification for different types of solid waste. Then we have seen what are the parameters, physical, chemical, and biological parameters of the solid waste. Then we have seen collection system for the solid waste in which we have seen door-to-door collection system, that is the collection services. And then we have seen the collection system, which consists of the hall container system and stationary container system. And then we have studied about transfer stations. And then we have seen about the physical and chemical and biological processing of the waste. So, in physical processing, we do the sorting of the waste according to different components, like we sort the plastic, we sort metal separately, and so on. And in the chemical transformation, we have seen about incineration, gasification, and pyrolysis. And then we have moved to the biological transformation, in which we have studied about composting, vermicomposting, anaerobic digestion, and so on. So next we have seen after all the processing of the waste, so whatever left is that goes to the landfill, and in that we have seen about landfill, what is landfill, what are the various types of landfill, and then we have studied about leachate collection and treatment, and then about leachate gas, sorry, landfill gas generation and how to control that, and also recovery of this gas at to and we used to produce electricity and so on, because the landfill gas consists of methane. And the current week, that is week 11, so it is about so there are 4 lectures. It is a mixed type. So the first lecture, I think, is about construction and demolition waste, and then it is about street sweepings, and then second lecture is, I think, about biomedical waste and electronic waste, and the third lecture is about integrated solid waste management, and the last lecture is about the municipal solid waste management rules 2016. Share my screen. Okay. So this first lecture was about construction and demolition waste. So we can see this is the overview for the different types of waste which comes from construction and demolition waste. So processing or of erecting of building, process of erecting of building or build facility or other structure or building of infrastructure. So all these construction of the new infrastructure will lead to the waste. And then if there is a demolition of some building or other structures, then also waste will be generated. And if there is deconstruction, like if some demolition of the some building is done, and then the materials that gets released from that is produced from that demolition, it is reused. So this is deconstruction. So all these will produce the waste which is known as construction and demolition waste. So these waste are very bulky and heavy, and they are not compactable. So they are very heavyweight, and so this type of waste should be handled separately. So this is the scenario for our country. So we can see that construction and minor repair or renovation, it is smaller. It is 40 to 60 kg per meter cube is generated, and demolition of proper concrete and masonry building, it produces the waste which has a density of 500 kg per meter cube, and structure with partial concreting and masonry has density of 300 kg per meter cube. So we can see that these densities are very high. So also with increase in urbanization and with more and more development, there is a boom in the construction industry because lot of buildings and other structures are building in our country. So slowly there is the amount of construction and demolition waste generated will increase. So there are two components. First is the major components, which consist of bricks, cement plaster, steels, rubber and stone, timber and wood, and the minor components consist of conduits, pipes like the galvanized iron pipes or iron or plastic pipes, electrical fixtures like plastic switches, wires, and all. And next is the panels. So wooden or laminated panels can be there. And last one is the glazed tiles and glass pans. So these two major and minor components are present in the construction and demolition waste. So next is why this construction and demolition waste is problematic. So first of all, it is totally inert. So it will not degrade or it will not reduce in its amount with time. So we have seen all of us have seen that if some construction is taking place, then the materials required for construction is generally lying near the road. So first of all, it will create traffic congestion. So improper if the materials required for construction is placed improperly, then it will cause traffic congestion. Next, dumping the waste like this is not good because it will eventually pollute the soil, surface water, and groundwater. And next, if the waste is left unattended on the roadside, then it will clog the drains, and there can be chances that if there is rain, then all the drains will be clogged, and the situation, flood-like situation, can take place. So it can cause urban flooding. And also what happens that the all these waste are kept lying, and they generally goes into the nearest municipal bin, and making the municipal waste heavy and degrading its quality for further treatment. So if it is get mixed with the municipal solid waste, then it makes very difficult for the components of municipal solid waste to be separated and for send for other further processing and transformation units. So for the major stakeholders for construction and demolition waste is the waste generator, the service provider, and the local authorities. So all these three produces lot of construction and demolition waste. So it is the stakeholders' responsibility to manage the construction and demolition waste. So these clause are from the Construction and Demolition Waste Management Rules 2016. So if there is generation of more than 20 tons per day or greater than 300 tons project, to pay for the processing and disposal apart from storage, collection, and transportation. So And if the waste is greater than 200 tons per day, then segregate the waste into four streams. Like concrete should be separated, soil, steel, wood, and plastic, bricks, and mortar. All these should be separated. And proper waste management plan should be made, and appropriate approval should be taken from the local authority. So please read all these in the lectures. So why it is important for management of construction and demolition waste? So managing the problems through sustainable solution. So first is the storage, collection, transportation, and disposal. So all this, the waste will be processed, and if there will be some reusable and recyclable materials, that can be done. So eventually, the amount of waste that will be eventually go for disposal will reduce if we will recover and reuse the components from the waste, and this will improve. This will decrease the harmful effect which will be there on the environment if no waste component would have been recycled. So first is the storage, collection, processing, and recycling facilities. So this is the no development zone. So here we so this is a waste disposed in a sanitary landfill. So here the waste can be disposed. So the local authorities and Department of Urban Development of the state provide necessary clearance to the operators, and they can dispose their waste in these landfills. So so the rules of urban local boundary body is that. So the overall city can be divided into five zones, where the waste of less than 1 metric ton can be deposited, and construct enclosure at each location or place a tractor or trolley for the storage of the waste. And then this waste can be used to fulfill the low-lying areas, or it can be put into the landfills. So the waste should not be deposited into the drains, and closed containers should be used for transportation, otherwise lot of dust particles will come into air and it will cause air pollution. So the flow is like there should be demolition, and then different components should be separated and it should be loaded into the vehicle, and recycling and reuse of the essential components should be done, and then after it should be sent to the landfills. So after first was, I think, collection and segregation, storage, collection, processing, and recycling facilities. Next is the processing, construction, and demolition waste. So the construction and demolition waste can be put to a profitable use given the scarcity of sand and stone for construction, thereby saving natural resources. So if we'll be using the sand and stone from the construction and demolition waste, so not only it will help to save our environment and the natural resources, but it will there is a lot of scarcity of sand and stone in urban areas, because we know that sand is generally taken from the bed, and there is lot of illegal mining of the sand from the river beds. So that's why during some season the cost of the sand is very high, and also there can be chances that there is lot of scarcity of the sand and stone for construction. So if we will extract from the construction and demolition waste, then it will also solve this problem. Also, it will prevent public nuisance and traffic congestion issues arising from indiscriminate dumping of construction and demolition waste. Next, it will save valuable space at landfill sites, because we know that construction and demolition waste are very heavy, and they are inert and they cannot be compacted. So, a lot of space will be required to if they are sent for disposal to landfill. So, if we will reuse and recover these, so there will be a lot of space at landfill sites which can be saved for other waste. And also, if the recycling is close to the source of generation, then lot of cost will be reduced for transportation of this bulky waste. So next is the reuse and recycling potential. So demolition waste can be crushed and sorted, and aggregates can be recycled. So the cement can be next. The cement can be removed by washing, and the recovered aggregates can be reused. Next is the reinforced concrete waste. So these have a lot of iron bars and reinforcement. So these steel bars or steels can be removed from this concrete, and the steel and iron can be separately recycled and reused, and the aggregates can be separately reused and recycled. So next is the clay bricks and roof tiles. So they can be clean, crushed, and sorted, and they can be used for masonry, or it can be used for aggregates, or it can be mixed with lime to produce mortar. Or we can also make. So this is the calcium silicate bricks. So they are crushed and sorted, and they are used for masonry, or they can be used as aggregates. Next is a natural stone masonry. They can be clean, crushed, and they can be used for masonry, or they can be used as aggregates. Again, aluminium, steel, mixed demolition waste, ceramic tiles, all these can be recycled, properly processed, and they can be recycled and reused. Again, some for timber, plastic, gypsum, and glass is given. Next is the proposed use of processed construction and demolition waste. So primarily mixed aggregates or recycle aggregates, as well as recycle concrete aggregates. So the demolished concrete block can be used as aggregates into the into aggregates for and for making further construction. So these are the images for recycle coarse aggregate, and this is for the recycle fine aggregates. So next is the environmental consideration. So the major issues is that it will cause lot of air pollution, and there is lot of noise whenever there is some construction taking place. So so the potential environmental issues for siting and managing a construction and demolition recycling facilities is, so the first is that there should be site clearing, because can cause lot of dust and noise, loss of biodiversity, and it can impact human and animal health, air pollution, ambience or visual impact, flora and fauna habitat. Next activity is site operation or contouring that permits water to pond on site. So these are the activities like uncontrolled or poorly managed site or runoff that will cause different that has various potential issues like of noise and dust, and have various impacts on the human and animal health and environment. So next is ambient air quality and noise levels at the processing or recycling site and in the vicinity. So there is proper standards that are given, and these standards should be followed, like particulate matter size that is less than 2.5 should be less than 60 microgram per meter cubes, and similarly for suspended particulate matters, 24-hour average should be less than 500 micrograms per meter cube. So a new example for India. So here a case study is given. So this is in Burari, Jahangirpuri, New Delhi. So what they do is they all the construction and demolition waste they are segregated mechanically and manually means and these waste are segregated in three parts: whole bricks, large concrete, and mixed construction and demolition waste. And finally, they are processed by screening and crushing. And finally, they are washed and uh, they are you. And finally, the bricks are made and they are used for making road sub-base, granular sub-base, and making pavement blocks and precast products like curb stones, paver blocks, and square tiles. So all the waste they are produced after processing. This is they are used for making all these. And the loose soil separated by grizzly, the soil is cell. And the manufactured sand is used for making ready-mix concrete for non-structural application and lean concrete. So next is about an in situ recycling of construction and demolition waste at redevelopment site by National Building Construction Corporation. So here, old residential colony of 200 2,500 dwelling units were redeveloped into new colony, and all the waste, construction and demolition waste at that site was recycled and reused for making the new colony at the same location. So now let's move to the second lecture. I think the second is about biomedical waste and electronic waste and inert waste. So next lecture is about management of biomedical e-waste and inert waste. So special waste, including domestic hazardous waste, comprise of any solid waste or a combination of solid waste that requires special handling and disposal because of its quantity. Construction, concentration, physical and chemical characteristics or biological properties in order to protect human health as well as environment and to exploit its potential for recycling. So these are the special waste. And in this special waste, it has plastic, biomedical waste, slaughterhouse waste, electronic and electric waste, wire waste, tires, battery waste, etc. And this special waste, including the domestic hazardous waste, they should not be mixed with the municipal solid waste. And because of lack of segregation and source and improper collection system, they frequently end up in the municipal solid waste stream. And they not only it is very difficult to process this mixed waste, but also what happens when these special kind of waste is mixed with the municipal waste, it is very difficult. It reduces the quality of the municipal waste for further processing. So this is from the integrated solid waste management hierarchy. That if it should be the like that that the waste it should be tried the waste should be tried to be reused and recycled. And first approach is that there should be minimization in waste generation. And if that is not done, then the same waste produced can be reused and recycled. Electronic waste that can be reused, and electronic waste is some waste which can be reused and recycled because it has lot of valuable metals. Even though the concentration is very less, but when it is extracted from large amount of waste, then some valuable metals are extracted and they are reused and recycled. And the biomedical waste should not be recycled and should be appropriately treated and disposed of to prevent hazardous impact of undesirable dumping of these waste. So the biomedical waste can have some contagious microbes. So they are generally sterilized, and these biomedical waste, even after sterilization, they are not recycled. So recycling of special waste, including the domestic hazardous waste, produces economic as well as environmental benefits and reduces reliance on virgin materials. So first is the biomedical waste. So it is generated during diagnosis, treatment, immunization of human beings or animals, or research activities pertaining thereto, or in the production of testing of biological or in healthcare. And these biomedical waste should be disposed of according to the Biomedical Waste Management Rules 2016. So, as per the biomedical waste management rule, local authorities should provide some suitable. They should allocate some suitable land for setting up of common biomedical waste treatment facility in their respective jurisdiction. So, So the various types of biomedical waste are the sanitary napkins, diapers, sustained cottons and birds, split mercury from the thermometers. We know that in the thermometers there is mercury, injected needles, discarded insulin pens. So all these comes under the biomedical waste from the household. So the segregation and collection of biomedical waste from the waste. So biomedical waste generated in household should be segregated as per Biomedical Waste Management Rules 2016. And these biomedical waste should be handed over to into separate bins or bags to the municipal waste collector. And the urban local bodies shall have tie up. They should tie up with the common biomedical waste treatment and disposal facility to pick up this waste from the material recovery facility or from the household directly for final disposal. Under no circumstances, the biomedical waste should combine with the municipal waste. So next is the biomedical waste from healthcare establishment. So in healthcare establishment like hospitals and all, the waste is segregated at the point of generation only. So you all have seen that there are different color of dustbins kept inside the hospital, in which the waste is different types of waste are discarded. And nearly 25 to 30% of the total waste generated by healthcare facilities are the biomedical waste. So for different type of waste, different color of the bin is assigned. Like yellow color is for human anatomical waste, animal anatomical waste, solid waste, and so on. And red bin is for the contaminated waste, and white bin is for waste sharps, including metals, and the blue bin is for the glasswares and metallic body implants. So some of the like existing rules for treatment of biomedical waste is given. So initially there was first biomedical waste management and handling rules 1998. Then it was draft biomedical waste management and handling rules 2011. And finally the latest version is the biomedical waste management 2016. So now let's discuss about electronic waste. So with modernization and with a lot of research and improvement in the uh, electronic field, there is lot of electronic waste which is generated. Like earlier, there used to be telephones, not mobile phones, but now there is mobile phones, and every person has a mobile phone. Sometimes there is two mobile phones. Now people have laptops, tablets, and a lot of electronic waste. So these electronic waste, if they are not properly managed, so since they have lot of metals in them, along with plastic, there is lot of metal, and some metals are very toxic and even at trace level. And if the electronic waste is sent for recycling and reuse, so some of its component cannot be recycled, but those components which can be recycled, if they are recycled and recovered, then there is lot of valuable metals which can be recovered and reused. So there are two categories of electronic waste. So first category is for the information technology and telecommunication equipment. Like it includes all the equipments used for telecommunication, like laptop, printers, uh, telephones, mobile phones, and so on. Next is the consumer electrical and electronics. This consists of devices which we use in our home, like refrigerator, washing machine, air conditioners, coolers, and so on. So the electronic waste consists of more than 1,000 different components, which can be categorized as hazardous and non-hazardous. So typically the e-waste consists of ferrous metal, which is nearly 50%, plastic is nearly 40 to 21%, non-ferrous metal like copper, aluminium, and others are, we can see here gold, platinum are nearly 13%, and other components like glass, etc. is 16%. So how e-waste is handled in India? So there are two sectors which handle the waste. The handling is done through formal sector. So it includes facilities authorized to deconstruct electronics having capacity of disposing 5 tons per day. So the formal sectors only follows procedure of dismantling and segregating parts. They do not physically dispose of the e-waste. So the informal sector handles e-waste by recycling or final disposal. So there is a whole economic market for e-waste because the parts can be dismantled and the scrap metals can be recycled. Some of the methods used for this sector are acid bath, burning cables, and disposing in landfills. So the methods for treatment and disposal of e-waste, first is the incineration. So in incineration, all the e-waste is burned into the specially designed incinerators. It is quite advantageous because it reduces the overall volume of the waste that will be reduces the overall volume of the waste. But since we know that during incineration, lot of harmful pollutants will be released into the gases which will be produced, and that can be very harmful to human and animal health if it is not properly treated and disposed. So this will be the drawback for incineration. That incineration has the advantage that it will reduce the waste volume, but the smoke which comes from the during incineration has lot of contaminants which need to be properly treated. Next is the acid bath. So it involves soaking of electronic circuits in the powerful sulfuric, hydrochloric, or nitric acid solution that free the metals from the electronic pathways. So the metals which are recovered after the acid bath, they can be used in manufacturing of other products while the acid are recovered through various acid recovery process. Last last method is landfilling, which is not highly recommended. So soil is excavated and trenches are made for burying the e-waste in it. An impervious liner is made of clay or plastic with a leached basin for collection and transferring the e-waste to the treatment plant. However, landfill is not an environmentally sound process for disposing of e-waste, as toxic substances like cadmium, lead, and mercury are released into the soil and groundwater and can pollute the soil and groundwater. That's why landfilling is not an environmentally sound process for disposing of the electronic waste. So now some existing rules for treatment of e-waste is mentioned. So please go through this and through the slide. Now let's move to the inert waste. So inert waste is a street sweeping. So street cleaning is a fundamental service ensuring clean and hygiene urban condition. So the street waste include consist of papers, plastic, dirt, leaves, and other vegetative matter. And generally in our country, manual sweeping is practiced as many streets are congested and narrow, so large vehicles for street sweeping cannot go onto those roads. So inefficient waste collection system coupled with public littering significantly contribute to waste piles onto the street. So solid waste management rules 2016. So the rule for the require for street cleaning is as follows: like direct street sweeper should not to burn tree leaves collected from street sweeping and store them separately and hand over to the waste collector. So it is discouraged to burn the tree leaves by the street sweepers, and collect separately waste from sweeping of street lanes and by lanes daily or on alternate days or twice a week. So the collection can be done daily or on alternate or twice a day depending upon the density and commercial activities and others. So there can be secondary storage facility for temporary storage of street sweeping and silt removal from the surface streets in case where direct collection of such waste into transport vehicles is not convenient. Next is manual handling of the waste is prohibited because it can consist of lot of toxics. So, but if it is unavoidable due to constraints, manual handling should be carried out under proper precautions with due care for health and safety of workers. And the workers should be provided with safety gear such as they should have proper uniform, shoes, gloves, and other equipment for their safe and easy working, and they should be subjected to periodic health checks and should be provided with social security benefit including health insurance. So this is given for the planning for street cleaning. So please go through this into the slides. So depending upon the type of the street, frequency of sweeping can be varied. So like if there is some shopping city center where there is lot of shops, so the frequency of street sweeping and cleaning can be done daily or twice a day, or depending upon the need. Market areas they should be clean daily and so on. So the street classification and street cleaning frequency. So street sweeping in residential areas may be carried out in two spells, 5 hours into the morning and 3 to 4 hours into the afternoon. So the staff which is involved into street sweeping, they are responsible for cleaning of the drains up to nearly 15 inches depth along the same gate. And multiple handling of waste should be avoided. And the local sanitary inspector is responsible for inspecting and maintaining records on the extent of service provision. Urban local bodies can adopt different strategies for tourist places where many people are present almost at all hours. In such places, regular cleaning throughout the day, that is 2 to 3 times, and during weekends and national holiday days may be necessary. Next is manual street cleaning. So, in manual street cleaning involves sweeping and collection of waste by sanitary workers from streets, roads, lane by lane, and public places. And these street sweeping normally includes cleaning the road surface and footpaths on both the sides or side of the road. And all waste from street sweeping should be transported separately without mixing with the domestic or any other commercial establishment waste in order to ensure efficient waste processing and to avoid mixing of inert with other waste. So the biomedical waste and construction and demolition waste, the street sweeping waste should not be mixed with the municipal solid waste. And the street sweepings and silt collected from the drain should be transferred from the wheelbarrows to a designated black storage bin or container placed at the waste storage depot. So these sweepings are separately stored into black bins, these black colored bins, so that they are not mixed with the municipal waste. So the different types of street cleaning equipments are given like these is the uh, fan fan shaped filament broom. Next is a blunt filament broom. So this image is from Hyderabad. So length of it, proper dimensions like what should be the length, weight, and binding material. All this is given for the broom. Next is the shovels, handcraft, carts. So all go through all these equipments into the slides. Next is the mechanized street cleaning. So this is the vehicle, and there is a very big mechanical broom which is at the front of the vehicle. So these type of mechanical vehicles can also be used for street cleaning. So go through all into the lecture slides. So next is the cleaning of surface drains. So it is the responsibility of street cleaners to also clean the surface drain up to a depth of 18 inches. So the solid waste dumped into storm drain should be collected by drain cleaners and disposed of along with drain cleaning and street sweeping material in a municipal sanitary landfill because of high possibility of contamination. So the waste which comes from the drains, they are not recycled because they are directly sent to the landfill because they can have a very high concentration of the contaminants. So next is the silt management. The silt collected from the surface drain should not be allowed to stay on open roads or footpaths beyond 4 hours. So here we can see an image where a person is removing the silt from the drains. So these silt should not be lying on the road for more than 4 hours. So wet silt should be removed from the main roads in less than 4 hours and in other areas within 24 hours and should be directly transported to the landfill or be disposed at the waste storage depots into the black container to prevent nuisance and health hazards. So these the silt which has been taken out from the drains, they can be either they can be directly transported to the landfill or they can be stored temporarily into the black containers which are used for storing the street sweepings. And this waste is not suitable for composting because of the possibility of high contaminants and inert content into the soil. So here flow chart for collection, transportation and disposal of street sweepings and drain silt is given. So first is the primary collection of waste from street. If the waste is biodegradable, it goes to the green bin. And through secondary collection vehicle, it goes to the processing site where it is either composed or the others, and the reject from this goes to the landfill. And if it is non-biodegradable, it goes to white bin or it goes to the secondary vehicle directly to the landfill. Next is the silt from the drainage cleaning. So they can be stored temporarily into the black bins or they can be directly sent to the landfill, or from the black bins they are sent to the landfill for disposal. Now let's go to the third lecture of week 11, which is about integrated solid waste management and solid waste management rules. So the integrated solid waste management consists of environment effectiveness, social acceptability, and economic affordability. So the three physical elements that are need to be addressed for integrated solid waste management to work well is first is the public health. Next is environment should be properly seen. And last is the resource management. Closing the loop and resource management consists of 4 R's. First is the recycle, reuse, recycle. So these 4 R's are reduce, reuse, recycle, and last is return nutrients to the soil, because there is a one day cycle of taking the nutrients from like phosphorus from the store rocks, using it, and finally this valuable nutrients goes into the wastewater or goes into different solid waste, and they are finally get lost. And if we are reapplying that after recovering of phosphorus and other nutrients, and if we are reapplying or returning to the soil, then we something way we are closing the loop. And like this way, this the same nutrient or element will last for longer time as compared to the one way route of going and getting lost. So please go through all these into the lecture slides. So next is the integrated solid waste management hierarchy. So the most preferred thing into the ISWM is source reduction and reuse. So first and foremost thing is that waste production should be minimized. Whatever the things which are getting produced in the waste, they should be reused and recycled by the owner itself, by the generator itself. And if it is unavoidable, like there is some waste which is getting generated, then the full next most preferred thing is recycling. That all the non-biodegradable waste that like paper, plastic, metals, they should be recycled. And after that, uh, the organic waste, they should be sent for composting. And next is the waste to energy. Recovering energy before final disposal of waste, like we can make refuse derived fuel like RDF. We can do biomethanation, or we can co-processing of combustible non-biodegradable diffraction of municipal solid waste, or we can make do incineration or anaerobic digestion. So waste energy from the waste should be recovered, and finally whatever inert is left that cannot be recycled, nor it can be composted, or any other processing cannot be done, they that waste or inert should be sent for the landfilling. So go through all these into the lecture slides. So this is mainly theoretical. Please go through all these into the lecture slide. Now let's move to the Municipal Solid Waste Management Rules 2016. So municipal solid waste includes household waste, street vendor waste, residential waste, hotel and restaurant waste, commercial waste, and construction and demolition waste. So the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change is responsible for overall monitoring the implementation of these rules into the country. So these are the various uh, departments which looks for the monitoring and implementation of the rules in our country. So duties of various department is given. Please go through these. So next is the waste generators. So waste is generated from hotels, residential buildings, markets, everyday activities. So there is some duties of each individual. Like there is duties of waste generator that the wet waste and the dry waste that should be put into the separate bins, and the waste should not be lying on like this on the roads. So next, duties and responsibilities of local authorities is given. So please go through all into the lecture slide. So proper specification for sanitary landfill is given. So next is the standards for treated leachate. So we know that from the landfill, leachate will be produced, and after treatment of this leachate, it should follow these limits for different parameters if it is getting disposed. Like if the treated leachate it going to be disposed into the inland surface water, then total solid should be less than 100, pH value should be 5.5 to 9, total Zaldal nitrogen should be less than 100 milligrams per liter, and like lead should be less than 0.01 milligram per liter, cadmium should be less than zero point 0.1 milligram per liter, total chromium should be less than 2 milligram per liter, and so on. So different standards for different parameters is given, and that should be followed for disposal of leachate. So next is standard of processing and treatment of solid waste. So there is various standards for different processing unit, like the standards for composting is discussed. So these tables about the organic compost which will be produced, it should have very arsenic less than 10, carbon to nitrogen ratio should be 20, so on. All these are there into the lecture slide. Please go through these into there. So standards for incineration is given and so on. So now a case study for Jawahar Nagar dumping yard Telangana is discussed. So here the segregated waste is collected by urban local bodies and transported, and there is transfer stations for biodegradable waste, and they are biodegradable waste is managed by windrow composting, and there is a landfill which is being constructed by the private partner. So before the construction of the landfill, it was scenario was something like this, and after the construction of the landfill, we can see there is well managed. This is a well managed landfill, and there is also a lot of green cover uh, around the landfill. So landfill was collected with geosynthetic clay liners, STPE liners, and geocomposting liners. So we have read that these liners are used to these liners are used at the bottom of the landfill to prevent the leachate or the landfill gas to getting penetrate into the soil or into the groundwater. The first layer was capped with 1 foot thick soil capping. 4.5 lakh tons of soil is used for covering solid waste in first layer. Also, the soil is used to cover the solid waste. and provided vents at 50 feet underneath the capping to facilitate collection of gases, and also proper vents are provided for to collect the landfill gas produced. So because of properly managing the waste, so now it's this landfill look something like this. Next case study is given for Ahmedabad. So factors which led to the failure of project is no proper lead system implemented as so there was no proper system which was implemented. There was no awareness among the people, no proper dumping system, and there was illegal unloading. And next was the people were not ready to pay fee for collection. So lot of education and lot of awareness is needed in our country. Like we need to aware the people that this waste need to be properly managed and handled. So this was lacking in Ahmedabad, which led to the failure of this. And informal sector was not given proper safety measures, which led to those. So these are some of the reasons which led to the failure. So next is a case study about the Indore Smart City project, which is the most cleanest city of our country. So please go through all these into the lecture slides. So next is some about integrated solid waste management. So you can go through all this into the lecture slide. Now let's go to the question part. So we will now try to solve the questions based on the lecture material. So let me share my screen. So the first question is, the problems caused by improper handling of construction and demolition waste are A. Traffic congestion, B. Clogging of drains, C. Urban flooding, or D. All of the above. So I'll give you all 3 minutes. Just take your time, write the answer in the chat box, and then we will discuss. So the problems caused by improper handling of construction and demolition waste are like if the waste is lying near the road or on the road, then it will cause traffic congestion. And if this waste goes washed with the rainwater and it goes and clogs the drains, and there can be a flood-like situation because of the clogging of these drains. So urban flooding can also be caused by improper handling of construction and demolition waste. So D, all of the above will be the correct answer. So that improper handling of construction and demolition waste causes traffic congestion, clogging of drains, and urban flooding. So now let's move to the next question. The question is, which of the following are hazardous waste? A, sanitary napkins, B, diapers, C, injected needles, or D, cardboards. So again, I'll give you all 3 minutes. Just take your time, write the answer in the chat box, and then we will discuss. So, sanitary napkins, diapers, and injected needles. All these three comes under hazardous waste. Although cardboards, this is not hazardous, and this will come under municipal solid waste. So A, B, C. That is sanitary napkins, diapers, and injected needles. All these three are the hazardous waste. So let's move to the next question. So the question is the methods for e-waste treatment and disposal are A. Incineration, B. Acid bath, C. Landfilling, or D. All of the above. So again, I will give you all 3 minutes. Just take your time, write the answer in the chat box, and then we will discuss. So the methods for e-waste treatment and disposal are like electronic waste is incinerated or it is put into acid baths, concentrated acid bath to dissolve the plastic and other things and extract the metals from it. And the last one is the landfilling, and whatever waste that cannot be processed is sent for landfilling. So D, all of the above will be the correct answer. That incineration, acid bath, and landfilling, all these three are the methods for electronic waste treatment and disposal. So now let's move to the next question. The question is street sweepings and silt collected from drains should be transferred from the wheelbarrows to which colored storage bins? So whatever street sweepings and silt is collected from the drain, that are transferred to the some colored storage bins for temporary storing before sending to the landfill or a processing unit. So the color of the bin is black, blue, yellow, or green. So what is that? The color of the storage bin. So again, I'll give you 3 minutes. Just take your time, write the answer in the chat box, and then we will see which one is the correct. So the color of storage bins for storing street sweepings and silt from the drains are black in color. So A is the correct answer. Now let's move to the next question. So the question is the three physical elements that all needed to be addressed for an integrated solid waste management system to work well and to work sustainably over the long period are A. Public health, B. Environment, C. Resource management, or D. All of the above. So again, I will give you three minutes. Just take your time and write the answer in the chat box, and then we will discuss. So the three physical elements that all needed to be addressed for an integrated solid waste management system to work well and to work sustainably over the long period are: first, public health should be seen. Next, this waste should not affect the environment in any way. And last is the resource management. All the resources in the waste should be recovered and reused. So D, all of the above will be the correct answer. So let's move to the next question. So the question is, what are the four R's in four R's concept? A, reduce; B, recycle; D, reduce; B, reuse; C, recycle; or D, return nutrients to soil. So again, I'll give you 2 minutes. Just take your time, write the answer in the chat box, and then we will discuss. So all the four R's are the four option like reduce, reuse, recycle, and return the nutrients to the soil. So these are the four R concept into the integrated solid waste management rule. So A, B, C, and D, all four will be the correct answer. Let's move to the next question. So the question is, what is the pH of treated leachate for disposal? So in the Municipal Solid Waste Management Rule 2016, so standards for various contaminants and where for various parameters for disposal into different like stream or inland is given. So the pH of the treated leachate should be that is given in the Municipal Solid Waste Management Rules 2016. We have to write what is that range. A 5.5 to 9, B 6.5 to 9, C 4.5 to 8, or D 4.5 to 8.5. So again, I'll give you 3 minutes. Just take your time, write the answer in the chat box, and then we will discuss. So the pH of treated leachate for disposal should be between 5.5 to 9. So A is the correct answer. Let's go to the next question. So the question is, which of the following is least preferred in integrated solid waste management hierarchy? A, source reduction and reuse, B, recycling, C, composting, or D, landfills. So again, I'll give you 2 minutes. Just take your time, write the answer in the chat box, and then we will discuss. So, in the solid waste management hierarchy, uh, landfill is the least preferred option out of the all the options. So, D will be the correct answer. That the waste should be sent to landfill when all the options for its recycling and reprocessing has been exhausted. So, whatever residue which is left, that should go into the landfill, not like the entire waste goes to the landfill. So, D will be the correct answer. So these were the questions based on week 11 material. So, so this week it was about construction and demolition waste. So there is separate rules for construction and demolition waste handling. And then it was about biomedical waste. So there is separate rule for managing of the biomedical waste. So if some biomedical waste is getting generated into the household, so that waste should be collected separately by the generator, and that should be handled separately to the person coming for the for collection of other waste. And also, the local municipality is responsible for collection of the municipal solid waste, and also they are responsible to either collect the biomedical waste or to arrange something with the biomedical. If there is some facility for biomedical waste handling in that area, so it is the responsibility of the local bodies to manage to make the arrangements for the collection of the biomedical waste from the households. So they can collect the waste and take to the biomedical handling facility, or directly the people from the biomedical waste handling facilities, they can come and collect the waste and take it for further processing. Also, for biomedical waste, these waste are not recycle and reuse because it may contain very contagious microbes. So these waste are processed, and they are sent for properly disposal into the landfills. And then we have discussed about electronic waste. So electronic waste, it consists of plastics. It has plastic component, lot of metals, glass, etc. So the metals in the into the electronic waste, they are very valuable and they can be recovered and reused. And the methods used for treatment and disposal of electronic waste is incineration, acid baths, and whatever residue is left, it goes to the landfill. So there are a lot of valuable metals like gold, platinum, silver. These metals are even used into the electronic waste. So there is a separate sector, or I should say separate market for recycling, recovering and recycling and reselling of these recovered metals. And and since with the development and with a lot of improvement in the technology, the electronic waste generation is increasing because lot of electronics is being used by an individual. So recycling and recovering of these valuable metals from the electronic waste is very very important before disposal, because for making the electronics, these metals will be required. And if we will close the loop, like we will reuse the recovered metals into the electronics, that will be very helpful to protect the virgin resources, well, not use the virgin resources if we are already using the recycled metals. So after electronic waste, we have discussed about street sweepings. So, for management of streets and roads, there is proper street sweepings done, and also there is cleaning of the drains by the street sweepers. So, there is proper handling of that, and silt or from the drains are not sent for processing. They are sent directly for to the landfills because they may contain lot of contaminants. And the street sweeping, it can consist of plastics, cardboards, leaves, or some um, biodegradable materials. So the biodegradable material can be sent for composting, and the inert materials like sand and soil, they are sent for landfilling. So after that, we have seen lectures based on integrated solid waste management. So integrated solid waste management means that we will not only manage the solid waste, but also we will take into consideration other aspects like human health. It is very important that there is proper handling and management of the solid waste, so that it is not causing or it is not producing any type of disease to anyone. Like if there is lot of litter or lying on the roads and others, then it attracts pathogens and rodents, so they can cause disease into humans. So that should be properly managed. And next is environment. If we are properly managing the solid waste, then we are also protecting the our soil, water, and air from pollution. So environment should be properly taken into consideration for proper management of the solid waste. And the last aspect is the resource management. So in the solid waste, there is lot of resources, like there is lot of metals, plastics, and there is a lot of nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus into the sorry into the waste. So these resources should be properly recovered and they should be present for reuse, because if we are like if there is some nutrient into the compost, so like if there is some nutrients into the solid waste, so that should be properly composted, and that compost should be properly, there should be proper market to either sell that compost or to give it to the farmers to apply into the soil, so that the nutrients which we have extracted from our mother earth, that finally goes into the soil, and it is the one way loop from the raw material to the getting lost is getting closed by reapplying that nutrient into the soil, and we can close the loop, and the same element or nutrient can last for longer time as compared to only the one way route. So after the integrated solid waste management, there was lecture on municipal solid waste management rules 2016. So some clauses were given from the municipal solid waste management rules 2016. So one such was about the leachate characteristics of the treated leachate. So like pH should be for the treated leachate should be between 5.5 to 9.5. There should be total solid should be less than 100 milligrams per liter. Cadmium concentration should be less than zero point 0.1 milligram per liters, and so on. So after treatment of the leachate, it should follows these the concentration of the different parameters should be below these limits. So this was the last lecture. So then we have discussed about 8 questions based on the week 11 lecture materials. So I hope all the questions and all the material is clear to you. So there was lot to read, like there was lot to read for the municipal solid waste management rules and for the biomedical and construction and demolition waste. So I'll encourage all of you to please go through the lecture slides and look into all these. And okay, so this was all from my end. So thank you so much for joining. So we will meet on next Saturday from same time from 6 to 8 p.m. So that will be our no that will be our second last problem solving session. So there are two problem solving sessions left. So hope to see you all on the next solving session on Saturday. So thank you so much for joining. Have a nice day.